this is Tricia. Welcome to Inky Planner. If you have been a subscriber in the past, I want to start out by apologizing for the long delay and my absence on YouTube and social media. I have just been in one of those times in my life where, the creative stuff has to kind of take a back seat to all the other things that we have going on. I have been planning. I'm still planning and creatively planning in my bullet journals, my Archer and Olive journals that I love. And I've enjoyed that very much. I just have not found the extra time to film, edit, and publish videos, or even do the photography and posting onto social media, Instagram, etc. So I'm sorry if you've been looking for me and wondering where I've been. And if not, if you're new to my channel, there is content from early 2019, I think all the way up until June. And I have card making videos and all kinds of planner videos in different types and styles of planners. And I encourage you to go check those out. So when I sat down to plan this week, I don't know what possessed me, but I just decided I'm going to flip the camera on and see if I can't get back into it, because I have missed it very much. I miss the planner community and all the inspiration and feedback. So here goes. As I mentioned, I am working in the Archer and Olive dot grid books. I've got a larger one here. I forget the exact dimensions. I will look those up, but it's a little bit larger than the A5 size that I started with last year. So you can see this floral one is an A5. And this is what I planned in from January through June last year. And I just thought I would try out a book with a little bit more real estate. And I find that this larger book, it's probably still smaller than my ring-bound binders, like the Filofax or some of the other similar binders that I have used in the past, and it's just more condensed, but you get a lot more paper real estate because the paper goes all the way out to the edge of the full size. So I'm just going to do a little flip through for you. I started this in July, and as I mentioned, I have been planning and keeping notes and still keeping the same methods of organization. Some weeks are pretty chicken scratchy, and other weeks are a lot more decorative, but it is something that is still a nice creative outlet for me. I just, as I mentioned, hadn't had the time to get it all published and shared online. But here you go. You can kind of see I stick mainly to this vertical style that I have been used to in my ring-bound A5 planners. I just draw it out myself each week, and I can tweak it as needed. If I have something unusual going on, or travel, or just if I need it, if I feel like a different layout, I can always adjust on the fly. But I've got this vertical kind of down to a science now. And sometimes I make wider columns. Sometimes I make narrower columns. It just kind of depends what I have going on for the week. And I love that flexibility. And it doesn't take me long, and I've kind of got it figured out to draw out the grids or the separation for the columns. So I'm just continuing to flip through just so you can kind of get an idea. If you have a specific question, let me know. I can go back and let you know how I did something. You can see there that was just like a little log for a trip that we went on. So instead of planning that week, I was just kind of memory keeping, journaling. And sometimes I do a monthly spread, sometimes I don't. But here I am in January for 2020, and I know a lot of people like to start a fresh book. But I was just showing you there, I had probably half of my book left, and I was like, I'm not wasting that. I'm just going to keep on going. So these are some of my recent spreads, and I think I did a February monthly. Yep, I did. And then I move on to the current week. So this is my empty page, and I've got quite a bit of the book left to work with. So I'm going to speed up a little bit and show you my process. Since it is Valentine's week, I am going to use some pretty pinks, and my neutral to go with those pinks, I chose that soft granite color from Hero Arts. I do love, my favorite inks to use in my planner are Stampin' Up! Inks. The paper in this planner is exceptional, or this journal I should call it. It is very, very thick and it holds up to lots of inks very well. I love that about it. But I do always feel that my Stampin' Up! Inks do the best. There's no shadowing, nothing at all. And I'm just choosing a permanent pen here, and I make my columns when I want to have 4 columns on either side. I make them 8 boxes apart, and that makes it really easy for me to get this lined up right away. And then, but the dot is pretty faint in the background, so it's an awesome guide, but it doesn't distract too much. So with those 8 columns, I usually put a to-do list or like a master task list on the left-hand side, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on the left, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on the right. Sometimes I change it up, but that's what I'm doing this week. And again, since it's Valentine's Day, I look through my stamps to see what kind of Valentine images I might have. And I pulled out this heart from an old Simon Says stamp set. And it's a nice, large, kind of sketchy heart. It's solid, but it has, it looks like it was drawn with a marker. It kind of has like breaks in it. You'll see when it stamps. But I thought I would take those various colored inks and just sort of overlap the hearts all across the top of my columns. Since I have 3 colors, I'm going to skip a couple of boxes and repeat with the same color. And on the spine, it does sometimes, like with a really big block or a large image like that, you sometimes have a little trouble, but I just kind of go back at it and I usually am able to fix that. It's better than working with a coil for me. I find it easier with this bound spine than trying to deal with a coil in the middle. You know, obviously it's not quite as easy as having rings that you can pull out, but I do love not having the rings to deal with. So now I'm moving on to my next color, and this one's all to new. This is Puffy Heart, kind of more of a magenta pink, almost purpley in it. And I'm just repeating that. That's going to be for Tuesday and Friday. And then my final color, back to another Stampin' Up! Color. And I'm just kind of drying and prepping that big, large heart on my hand. I do that a lot, and it really helps with the coverage that you get. And so that color will be for Wednesday and Saturday. So now I'm thinking about my title, and I have this new stamp set on the left from Catherine Pooler. She has a Canvo line. I have never tried that product, although it looks really interesting to me. But for the first time, I just ordered some stencils from her, and then this little February. I loved all those February fonts. I also have one from Studio Calico that I showed you there that I love, but ultimately I decided to go with this large alpha, and I swear I use this so much. Unfortunately, I don't think this is available anymore. This was from the old Scraptastic Club, but I think there's a similar alpha from Felicity Jane maybe, or I don't know. I'll have to look that up. If somebody's interested in it, you can let me know, and I'll try to track it down for you. But I decided to stamp out February in gray across the top, and I wanted it to sort of be right justified. So I am starting with the Y towards the center of my layout and then working my way backward. And that's always you know, a good tip. You can keep the word February from another stamp nearby so that you can make sure you get them in the right order. And then I thought, wow, it might be pretty to layer a different, like a contrasting font. So I've got that big, bold serif font, and then I thought, well, I could put this scripty, thin, more delicate font over the top of that, and it would look really cool. So I've got that in black. And I do not worry at all. I think that's because that's a new stamp. I just didn't prep it perfectly. And so I didn't get perfect coverage, but I never worry about that. You can always fix things. So I just going back in with a black pen and kind of filling in where those little breaks were. So I love the look of this. I've already got quite a bit of color on the page and sort of a bold stripe of hearts. And now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to put my dates and days of the week in without clashing too much with all that we have going on. So I choose like a really simple font. I believe this is an Echo Park, and I really love it. It's a great size, and it's a very simple font, and it comes with all the numbers and the letters in one set. It was just on Amazon, so if you're interested in that, I can get you a link. Excuse my head in the frame. I was literally right on top of all of these stamps, which is a tip to get things lined up. And so that's why I didn't show you stamping everything out, because all you'd be doing is looking at the back of my head the whole time. But I do kind of use the single one stamp and go across and do all the ones, and then I come back and fill in with all the other digits. So I did that in the same soft granite ink, and I like how that's soft, but it's very legible. It shows up well, but it's not so in your face that it's distracting or too hectic feeling. So just a second ago, I pulled out a wonderful set that I love from Strawberry Jude Stamps. It has really cool font for the months, and then it has like just a simple, small, crisp days of the week. So I stamped those out as well. So now I'm looking at my calendar and trying to figure out what do I have going on this week. And I've got this really thin washi that I love. I bought it from Illustrated Faith. And I think it's supposed to be like for highlighting Bible text, but I just really love it as a liner in my planner. And my day is basically broken up into the time when my kids are at school, where I can get stuff done or have appointments or whatever, and the time after. So there I'm showing you the washi. I have lots of colors. It comes in a rainbow set. And then I also had pulled out some just gray and black and white washi. So back to my schedule there, I was saying I have above that line is usually everything I try to accomplish or have appointments for during the day while my children are at school. And then the line is like the pickup, carpool, or picking up my daughter. And then after that is running around to sports and activities and all the things that we have going on in the evenings. So that's what works for me and my personal schedule, but what I love about this type of planning is it's so flexible. You can do whatever works for you. So there is a tiny little stamp set on the left there that is various labels, and I love it. Love it, love it. I just got it off of Amazon. It is a Hero Art set, actually, but it also says One Little Bird and Studio Calico. So I think it was a collaboration. And it also comes with a couple of dies, not for all 5 stamps, but for a few of them. I don't have the dies handy because I'm just using the stamps right in the page, but awesome little label set. And what I love about it is it's the perfect size for these columns that I make. And what I do for planning is I give a pretty prominent weight to the activities that are my activities that I have to go to and attend. And then because I'm a mom of young kids, I'm managing their schedules too. So I do something smaller and less prominent for all of their things, their practices and catechism and things like that. I don't have to attend those with them, but I do have to get them there and back, and I do have to make sure that they're ready for it because they're not keeping track of that stuff. So I decided in this case to just use a tiny little heart icon for everybody else's schedule that I manage and that I, run carpool and the shuttle service, but use those big ticket or label shapes for my own events that I actually attend. So I hope that makes sense. And that's not always the case, but in this, I should say most of the time, that's what works well for me. And it helps me see at a quick glance what my appointments are. But it also, I can very quickly see where I need to be delivering children and picking them up and running around. I'm sure lots of moms out there feel like a chauffeur like I do. So on Wednesday, I'm choosing the larger box. It's like a little more square, still a rectangle, but it's just a little taller because I have an activity that, first of all, takes up a little bit more time. So even though this isn't an hourly, it just indicates to me at a glance that that's going to be a little bit of a longer appointment. That's just a board meeting that I have. And also, I think sometimes just mixing up the shapes is nice as well. And I'm doing all of these in that puffy heart, like more magenta pink, that is from Altenew. So I'm going back to a couple more of the icons, and I'm referencing my iCal right now so I know what I have going on, and then I'll come back in and write all these in. And I also think it's nice when you keep them lined up with each other so you can see like the ones along the bottom. I'm trying to keep them in the same grid line so that it looks pleasing when you're looking at it. It doesn't look too chaotic. Now on Saturday, both my kids have basketball games, and even though they're their events, they're also, my husband and I and the other kids, we also attend them. So it is an event for me as well. So that's getting a label stamp as well as taking up kind of large chunks of time because there's warm up and travel time, and so that eats up your Saturday pretty quick. So I'm really liking how this is balancing out. I'm pretty happy with all that stamping, and I'm just going to go back through. I'm using a Pilot Friction pen because it's erasable, and I love that about it. I'm just going to go back through and write in all those activities. I'm going back to that same Strawberry Jude stamp set that I used the days of the week, and it has a nice little to-do header. Sorry about my head once again. And I'm stamping that in that far left column at the top in that same gray ink. And that will give me a spot to put all of my master tasks before I really assign them to a specific day. And just a note, I'm throwing some washi here at the bottom, but while I do that, putting all of my events down like this helps me see just in one quick glance where I have pockets of time to get things done. I know already that I have to get laundry done and that I have errands to run and I have to do groceries and all that, but I fill those in the blank spots of my week, depending on my other committed appointments that are specific times. So I'm sure other people operate the same way, but for me, putting it all down on paper helps me then say, okay, I'm pretty busy most of the days, but Tuesday looks wide open, so that's a great day to jump in the car and bang out a bunch of errands, something like that. So, for another decorative touch here, I grabbed a mini ink blending tool, and I have that light pink ink, and I'm just kind of going real softly around the sides and top of the page until I build up just a little, almost like a halo of color. It's very soft and subtle, but I just like that it puts a little color up top. And then I realized I had not even written down on Friday that it was Valentine's Day, even though I put my daughter's party in there. And I have this little holidays type stamp set from Tailored Expressions. And it has a little heart icon and it says Valentine's Day on it. So I'm just putting that on Friday in that gray ink. That's not a huge day in our household in terms of celebrating it, but my youngest daughter is still in elementary school, so she always has a party at school, and so that's probably the biggest factor. So my lighting is really funky when I lift this up, so I apologize that it seems to be like changing colors, but I'll get some still shots that are better. But I'm just giving you a glance of all the finished stamping, and then I will go back and fill in my blanks, and I usually use a highlighter, either a mild liner or one of my friction highlighters, to give myself a spot for tasks and to-dos. So it has been a couple of days since I filmed, and my page has still evolved just a little further, and I thought I'd point out some of the things that I have added. You can see up in the upper right-hand corner, I have a giant alpha from Waffle Flower, and I just stamped XOXO in that puffy heart ink. And I thought that balanced out my title a little bit and put a little weight up on the right side of the page. I also added a few small strips of that super skinny washi under my to-do header to kind of create that list over there. And then, as I mentioned, I used my friction highlighter to put little boxes along my to-do list for my master tasks for the week. I did add a couple more events that have popped up since I filmed this. So you can see there's a few more of those pink labels. Also, we decided to leave for a vacation on Sunday, so I added some information there about our trip. And I also stamped a little fork, knife, and plate set along the bottom where I will do some meal planning. But pretty much it has the same look. Um, I'm trying to look and see if there's anything else I did. I did put a little bit of highlighting with a white gel pen on those big block letters for February, on those gray stamped letters. And I think it just makes them pop a little bit, makes them look a tiny bit dimensional. And you can see I've already started to add some tasks for the early part of the week with a little gray mild liner. So this is how the week looks. It is now Monday, the 10th. So this is how the weeks looks as of this moment. I'm sure more will fill in as the week goes on, but you can get an idea of how I set things up and how I manage my schedule, how I like to visualize it throughout the week, and maybe it inspired you to do something creative in your planner. And I think, as I mentioned, you could apply some of these strategies regardless of whether you're planning in a Happy Planner or Erin Condren or printables. I used to use the Plan to Create printables from Julie, and really that's what I model this after. I just like this larger size, and I've liked getting away from my rings. But I really love her layouts, and that's why this is laid out almost exactly the same. So hopefully this was inspiring for you or fun to watch. I'm so happy to have you back if you are a subscriber from before. And if you're new to my channel, please come again, subscribe, and I will try to continue to put a little more content out now that I'm back at it. Have a great day, everybody.